Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Michelle Fondin and I'm the author of Twin Flame Romance, The Journey to Unconditional Love. All of my books are available in paperback, Kindle, and Audible books. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for subscribing below. Click on that bell, scroll up to all for all notifications, and thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. I do readings, 30, 60, and 90-minute readings, twin flame, romance, general readings, life, path, and purpose. You can book that at my website, michellefondinauthor.com. And don't forget to download the free Twin Flame Affirmations Meditation. The link is below. Welcome to Twin Flame Questions Answered, where I answer one of your questions, the viewers, on a YouTube video. Today's question is a large age gap between my twin flame and I a big deal? Is it really that big of a deal? Oh my gosh, do I have an answer for you? This answer is based on my own life experience, but it's also based on twin flame guidance from above. Because I had a client and this was about a year and a half ago. He and I were discussing this matter of age gap and age difference in twin flames. And we came to some conclusion. Actually, he had come to the conclusion, but then I was making peace with a big age gap between my twin flame and I. Now, let me just qualify this by saying that what I define for myself as a big age gap, I would say more than 8 years of age gap is a big age gap. I would say less than 8 years. I don't know why I picked 8, but 8 just seemed like a reasonable number. More than 8 years appears to be a large age gap. Now, if this is not you, first, thank you for watching this video, but maybe you can help another twin flame. But secondly, I'll put a video link here to something that you can watch if you're less than 8 years in age gap and you don't feel like the age gap is a huge deal, but there are other obstacles on your twin flame journey. So you can certainly view that video above. So for me, I'll just tell a little bit of my personal story and my thought process through age gap. So one of the things that I really want to discuss with you is that, these things, age, right? It's just something that's presented to us as a measure of time in this 3D physical world. We do know that time, the fourth dimension of time, we do know that time is really relative. It's relative, and that's like a whole other video or video series, but time is really relative. We have this measure of time so that we can do things like make appointments, have work hours, get to work on time, pay bills, whatever it is. But we have this artificial system of time that we implement in order to have an orderly life in our daily living, in our circadian rhythm, for example, or seasonal rhythm, or yearly rhythm, for example. We also have this concept of time as a marker for certain events, such as birthdays, anniversaries, different celebrations, and holidays. So when we really think about this, is that we go through these periods of our own lives where we have, birth, infancy, toddlerhood, early childhood, adolescence or puberty, whatever you want to call it, young adulthood, and leading up into adulthood. And then we have, something called middle age, and we have something called senior citizens that we tend to name in these categories. However, if you really, really, really ponder about this concept of age and this concept of a number that we've attributed it to a specific period and section of time, and what we have projected as an image to that particular section of time really is a construct of society. It is a construct of humans having constructed societies over centuries, and these parameters of age or the development of age and age gaps and aging and what somebody of a certain age must be doing or should be doing at a specific moment in time, that has adjusted and changed throughout time. I'll give you a prime example. My relatives on my father's side were born in Iraq. And in Iraq, in the time of my father's birth, so my father was born in 1942. So from the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, I believe, in the country of Iraq, women at that time were married very, very, very young. So women in that time frame, so my aunts who were probably born around that time frame, 1940s and 50s, my aunts married at age 13. Now, if we're to fast forward to today, most people in the Western world would agree that 13 is a bit young to be married. Many people that I know of this day and age are waiting until their 30s to get married. So if you think about age and age gap and periods of life, that's a huge shift. Now let's go back to about 50 years where lifespan was a little bit shorter. People considered that, wow, if you live to 70, you're pretty lucky. And so they considered the age of about 35 to 40 to be middle age. Well, it was middle age if you're only living to 70. In today's day and age, if you fast forward, life expectancy has expanded, minus the pandemic statistics of life expectancy going down. But generally speaking, life expectancy has actually gone up. So whereas 40 or 50 years ago, when people considered that by the time you hit 35, 40, you were pretty much like midlife. Now, I think most people would agree that midlife probably doesn't really even occur until 55, 60, because most people are living beyond 75. So when you really think about it, age is really a number, or like a time period in life is really a number that we attribute to societies and the expectations of a society at a specific period or given time. Now let's take this one step further, and I will get to my story, I promise you. Let's take this one step further. Our souls are ageless, spaceless, and timeless. Our souls are inhabiting this body, this human body, for this period of time, which we call life on Earth. But the soul itself has a journey, which if you're a young soul, may be several lifetimes on this planet. If you're an old soul, it could be like 1,000 lifetimes on this planet. So soul has no age. Soul is just an experience that has traveled through time. When you consider a twin flame couple that comes together, that, by the way, they share a soul, right? You and your twin flame share a soul. So your soul was at one time together experiencing this thing we call life. And then at some point in the trajectory, your soul split into two separate bodies at different time periods to have different experiences or accumulate the different knowledge and experiences throughout lifetimes. So really, you and your twin flame, soul-wise, are the exact same age because your souls were together at some point. So it doesn't matter if you've incarnated more than your twin flame or less than your twin flame, but the soul's age is actually the same because you were one soul. So when we consider that, it's a lot less shocking when we look at biological age, chronological age, I should say, not biological age, chronological age being, for example, 8 years or more. Now, I personally, through my clients and coaching, I know twin flames that have 20 to 30 to 35 year age gap between them and their twin flames, which on the surface in this earth plane can seem like a huge number of years, which, I mean, it is a huge number of years on this earth plane. But one thing that we fail to remember as spiritual beings is that does it really matter? Does it really, what matters? As long as the person is, this I do agree to, is that as long as this person is not a minor, so they've reached adulthood, which in the United States is age 18. I'm pretty sure it's pretty much like that in most parts of the world is 18. And here's why I agree to that. The reason I agree to that is I do believe that children must experience their life path and circumstances and life situations pretty much on their own with their parents and caretakers until they're about 18. Now, whether it's 17 or 18, I don't think that line is a hard line. I think the legality is age 18, but I really feel at least for the first 16 to 17 years of life, that life should be lived independently, even of a twin flame, unless you're growing up with your twin flame, in which case age gap would not be a big deal. But I really believe that if a twin flame meets a twin flame and there is a large age gap, let's say the twin flame is 15 and let's give the number of 8 years, and the other twin flame is 23, I would say the 23-year-old must wait until that twin flame has at least reached the age of 18 so that they can finish their growing and learning on their own. Because there are some things that are sacred to this human experience that we have to learn, these survival skills that we have to learn on this earth plane to like go through life and be functional. But beyond that, beyond those first 18 years of growing time, when literally the human body is still growing, that it really is not such a huge deal to have an age gap between twin flames. Because the thing is, the soul and the body, the soul and the life experience that you have are integrated. So that 18-year-old, for example, who is going to have the life experience of an 18-year-old will have had lifetimes of experience on a soul level, which if a person looking at that 18-year-old who is a twin flame with, let's say, a 28-year-old twin flame, they're going to look at that 18-year-old as like being an old soul. Like that's when you hear some people say like, wow, they're really an old soul. It's because their soul has already journeyed here so many times that they've accumulated a lot through soul knowledge. So let's pause here, take a break, and let's see if YouTube would like to show a commercial. Thank you for sitting through that. So back to my personal experience and what happened to me when I met my twin flame. And this is really funny and it's very ironic because this will also take me to another point I want to make on this video. My twin flame is 12 years younger than me. And when I met my twin flame in 2018, mid-2018, September 2018 to be exact, when I met my twin flame, and I thought he was older. I actually thought he was older, and I write a lot about that in my book and da-da-da. But I thought he was closer to my age. I did not think he was 12 years younger. And he just looked more mature. He looked older, kind of that old soul vibe. And when he told me his age, I had a knee-jerk reaction that it could not be possible. Now, of course, I did not know he was my twin flame when he told me his age. But I really had this knee-jerk reaction, and I portrayed that knee-jerk reaction to him. And I literally said, like, we're at different phases in our life, we're not on the same page in life, and like not knowing, of course, but just basing it on the chronological age. And I kind of told him that it really wasn't possible other than something casual. And I had this knee-jerk reaction because I think somewhere inside of me, because of society's brainwashing, I was like, there's no way he would love me and accept me for who I am because I'm 12 years older than him. Not to mention, I was pretty certain, I don't know this for firsthand, but at the time I felt like, oh, well, he's not started his life in the way of like marriage and a family. And I knew that I didn't want to have other kids. So I thought like, oh, this is not possible. And then it's really funny because when I was a youth, when I was much younger, I was always dating guys older. So I was hooking up with a guy, I was 15 or 16. I was hooking up with a guy who was 24 at that time. And then my serious boyfriend when I was 17 to 18 was 8 years older than me. So I was always hooking up with guys older than me, but I never thought that was a big deal because society tells you it's not a big deal if the guy is older. It is a big deal if the woman is older. And we have these phrases that we say as a pejorative toward women who date younger guys. Like, oh, she's just a cougar, she's a MILF, all this, you know? And it's awful because it really attributes a role, a label to a person, notably a woman who is older than a man, to say like something very negative. Inversely, if there's a young woman dating an older guy, let's say 20, 30 years older, they attribute a label to her saying like she's just a gold digger, or he's her sugar daddy. And you know, they probably even talk bad about men who date younger women in circles of that man's age, right? So maybe his friends, his peers, his colleagues might frown upon if he's 60 dating a 25-year-old. So we have put all of these labels and placed people in boxes and categories just based on age gap, age difference, when in reality, it truly does not make a huge difference. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my recent experience. My twin flame and I are in separation, and I'm not going to go further on that note because I do talk about it in my group coaching a little bit more, but I'm not going to talk about it here on YouTube. And earlier this year, I started dating someone very organically, who was not, by the way, I checked in with my sister, the Akashic Record reader, Annette DeLu at infinitesoullove.com, if you want to check her out. I checked in with her because I was really curious with this person, this guy who was pursuing me. He is 17 years younger than me. And I was not pursuing him. We became friends and we met very organically. We kind of hung out in the same circles together. And so for about 2 months, you know, he was pursuing me pretty heavily. And what I found was that we had like a ton in common. We had so much in common. We had amazing conversations, and intellectually we're exactly on the same level. And when he wanted to date me, I was very hesitant, again, because of the age gap, but also because of the twin flame situation, not knowing where that was going at that time. But I was really hesitant because I was like, okay, he's 17 years younger. Like, where can this go? And to my surprise, what I found out, and I really believe that my angels and guides brought me together with this person who was 17 years younger than me. They brought me together with him to kind of prove to me that age really does not matter, because it really does not matter. So I dated this person for about 5 months. And in the midst of the relationship, like, I found that time and time again, age really did not matter in our case, because he was raised by parents that were older. And so they had given him a lot of life experience that someone his age probably would not have had he had parents that were much younger, raising him without the resources to like take him around the world, for example, and put him in the best schools. So intellectually, like, he was exactly my equal. And in fact, I told him that no one to this day has ever been my intellectual equal as a man, like a man that I've dated, that I've been with, who has been able to like keep up with me intellectually. And I'm not patting myself on the back to say that. I'm just saying that, like, I'm a very quick thinker. I learn things very quickly. I have a lot of thoughts. And he was very similar in that nature. And I just think that, like, on so many levels, we matched up regardless of the 17-year age gap. Now, you might be asking me, like, well, why didn't you continue to date this person? Well, because it wasn't meant to be, right? Obviously, I'm a twin flame. It wasn't meant to be. But there were other issues and problems, but the age was not at all a problem. And it was really humbling to me, because I was like, oh, this is interesting, because my twin flame is 12 years younger than me. This person is 17 years younger than me. So like 12 years, that seems like nothing at this point, being that I had been in a relationship with someone 17 years younger. But honestly, age actually does mean nothing. It's just a construct of society. It's these conditioned responses that we, as a human collective, have actually agreed to, believe it or not. We've agreed to it. We've said, yes, this makes sense. Let's just agree to this. Even though there really is no credence for it. In all honesty, there's no, what is the What is the reasoning behind it? If life stage or life phase is a reason behind it, then obviously that person has a free will choice. Not if you're a twin flame, I'm sorry. But generally speaking, that person has a choice to say, well, you don't want kids, I want kids. Either we have a kid and work this out, or I'm going to have to find somebody else. But if you're a twin flame, usually it's in your soul contract what you guys have already agreed to. Does that make sense? So I just want you guys to breathe easy if you and your twin flame are in this huge age gap category and you've been really worried and concerned about what everyone else might be thinking or how everyone else might be perceiving, or what your twin flame might be thinking or perceiving. And last but not least, it's interesting because one thing that I never conceived of that actually did happen in the midst of that relationship with the guy who had the 17-year age gap is that one thing I hadn't thought of is that he almost had a complex of being too young for me, meaning like he thought that I would think that he was too young or not having had enough like wisdom or life experience, which was really funny because just think about that. Like if your person's worried about being too young for you and you're too worried about being too old for your person, just realize that both of those things are kind of ridiculous because we are in constant flux. We're not stagnant as people, I hope, right? So it doesn't matter what your chronological age is. We're constantly learning, evolving, and changing. So I hope this was helpful, twin flame. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for subscribing to my channel below. Click on that bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. And thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. Thank you for sharing this video with other twin flames who might have an age gap or a large age gap. And thank you so much for your support of my YouTube channel. You can buy a book or 2 or 3. You can join the group coaching. The link is below. And I will see you in the next video.